Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is Chris, also known as Piston. And so today I want to get into what are my personal top 5 NFT projects that I most want to be invested in right now, or at least ones that I most want to hold long term and sort of think have the most asymmetric upside. With all the low quality projects that are coming out right now, it really takes a really good project for me to want to invest in it long term. Mostly everything that's releasing, I'm either just ignoring or I'm flipping very quickly. I don't really like most of the NFT projects that are coming out right now. It takes a lot to really get me to want to invest in something. It has to be a really high quality team that's showing me that they have a grand vision for the NFT project that they're releasing. All right, so let's get into it now. So the number 5 project for me that I want to hold, that actually this is one that I don't have, is Chromie Squiggles. What I like about Chromie Squiggles is that even though it's not really the first generative art NFT out there, it was the first project that was released on the Art Blocks curated platform. So it does sort of have that like rookie card type of characteristic attached to it. And the price point of Chromie Squiggles is relatively low compared to some of the really expensive OG projects like Findenzas or Ringers that are much higher than what the price point of Chromie Squiggles are right now. That's another reason why I have it here in my top 5. It's technically at a price point that I can get into, even though I'm not buying right now. The downside is relatively much lower than some of the other OG generative art projects, you know, that are at 50 ETH plus floors right now. So with it having sort of that rookie card attribute, I think in the long term, if generative art does play out as being something highly sought after for, you know, a lot of the really rich collectors out there, it's something I think that has a lot of upside that people are going to want to have part of their collections while also still being at a price point where the downside is relatively low. All right, so coming in at number 4 is a project that I actually do own, and that is Azuki. So in my opinion, Azuki is one of the most unique profile picture projects released yet. Really, the art and just the style of it all is so much different than anything that I've seen. It's not like a children's cartoon or, you know, some animal profile picture project. And it's something that's really going to appeal to more of a mass market, with it not being sort of a children's or animals NFT. You know, with it being this anime, it appeals to a much greater audience of people. And it's an NFT that's shown that people are really passionate about, you know, almost to the degree of Bored Ape Yacht Club. But it's at a much lower price point compared to Bored Ape Yacht Club being at only around 10 to 11 ETH floor, compared to Bored Ape Yacht Club's, you know, 80 to 100 ETH floor. And then another thing that kind of gives Azuki upside in the long term is that with it being relatively new, they haven't had all the airdrops yet for the project. So unlike Bored Apes or Clone X, where you were already able to cash in on all the airdrops like Mutant Apes or the Monolith, with Azuki, you still have airdrops that are probably likely to come that you can cash into. So that sort of adds to the upside of it that makes me want to hold it right now. And then, like I said, compared to Bored Apes, it doesn't have, you know, 80 ETH worth of downside. It has, you know, much lower than that at 10 ETH worth of downside. All right, so coming in here at number 3 of projects that I want to own long term is Huxley Saga. And this is, again, a project that I do own. And the reason that I have it in my top 5 long-term holds is that it's really the only NFT in the space that's signed contracts right now that's going to sort of take it mainstream through a feature film that can be on the big screen, you know, in theaters across the world. The people behind the project are fully doxed. You got some of the top names in Hollywood involved with Aria Rod and Jerome Chen. And then you got the project's founder, Ben Morrow, who's got the video game industry connections, having been a senior concept director for Halo and Call of Duty. So with the project's price point right now being relatively low compared to a lot of the other top tier projects, and having sort of this, you know, big upside of really taking to the mainstream through AAA games and feature films, I think really gives it that upside that is what puts it in my top 5 long-term holds. All right, so coming in at number 2, I have Punk's Comic, and this really involves Punk's Comic and Meta Hero. And again, this is another project I am holding long-term. And the reason I have them in my top 5 is that they've already signed some contracts with big-time companies like the Creative Artist Agency, and then also the $100 million in venture capital funding that they've got through Velvet Sea Ventures and ONA that's led by the former Twitter CEO. And then outside that, they also have multiple routes that they can take their IP mainstream through AAA games, TV shows, films, you know, comics with the Punk's Comic, the origin stories, the Meta Hero. There's just a lot of different routes that they can take to bring their IP mainstream. So while one route may fail, they do have other routes that could be successful. And then another thing that really legitimizes them is that they do have that contract with Adidas, you know, along with Bored Ape Yacht Club, But again, sort of the common theme with my top 5 long-term holds here is that the price point for meta heroes compared to some of these more expensive projects like CloneX or Bored Ape Yacht Club or Fidenzas or CryptoPunks is that it does have a cheap entry point at 4 ETH for a meta hero or 3 ETH for a Pixel Vault Founders DAO token. Or really, it's the only project in my top 5 here that does have an entry point below 0.5 ETH where you can pick up planets that are also going to get you sidekicks. So it's a project that you can get at a cheap entry point to really reduce your downside, but it's got these grand visions that, if successful, really give you a lot of upside in the future for the long term. All right, so coming in as my number 1 top long-term hold, I have CryptoPunks. And so while I don't own a CryptoPunk outright, I do own some fractions of that through Fractional. And that's how I would suggest most people should get exposure to CryptoPunks, is go through Fractional to buy fractions of one. And this is the way to get you much safer exposure to NFTs without buying into some of these crazy projects out there that, are likely going to go to zero eventually. So the best thing about CryptoPunks, why I have them number 1, is that there's virtually no risk of them not delivering. CryptoPunks are just, they're the OG rookie card of NFTs. You're not really expecting anything from them, so there's not really anything to be let down by when it comes to owning a CryptoPunk. And there's really nothing that can take them away from being the OG rookie card of NFTs. Whereas a project like Bored Apes or Azuki or CloneX, they don't have that, assignment of being the OG profile picture project that kind of started the whole NFT craze. So in the long term, unless NFTs were just a big fad and everything goes to zero and they're completely forgotten about, CryptoPunks are always going to be there as that first project that people are always going to be wanting to get a hold of. And so, like I said, the best way to get exposure to these is buying some fractions of them through Fractional. And this is a way that you can kind of hold an OG project long term without having a lot of that downside that all these, new projects popping up have. Please let me know in the comments what your guys' top 5 long-term hold projects are, and let me know what the reasons that you have each project in the top 5, and let's see how they compare to mine. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below, as I'm going to have a lot more of these NFT top 5 and top 10 videos coming out here in the very near future.